The moment she stepped onto the $200 million yacht, humiliation clung to her like the humid sea air. Her simple linen dress, the loose tie of her hair, and a lack of any glittering jewels made her stand out like a paper boat among a fleet of Versace-clad galleons. Did the server take a wrong turn? Someone scoffed, pressing an empty champagne flute into her hand with mocking flair. This is a yacht christening for the elite, not a coastal flea market. Another voice chimed in, laughter rippling through the crowd. What none of them knew was that the man they had all come to impress was her father. Emerald Crest Island rose from the azure depths of the Varelian Sea, its jagged cliffs crowned with verdant greenery. Its private marina gleamed under the midday sun, a fortress of privilege, its marble docks teeming with the world's most powerful. At the center floated the Astra Monarch, a $210 million superyacht, her titanium hull slicing the turquoise waves like a blade. She was the crowning jewel of Harborstone Holdings, an untouchable titan of the maritime world, owned by the reclusive magnate Vincent Harrow. Access to Emerald Crest was by sapphire-stamped invitations only, and today, 300 of the world's most powerful figures were assembled. Banking tycoons with fleets of private jets, European royalty sparkling in historic diamonds, Gulf princes trailing clouds of oud, and corporate monarchs flashing limited edition watches all gathered under the rare Varelian sun. The dress code was haute couture, the atmosphere electric with ambition. No reporters had breached the biometric gates. No unverified soul had crossed the marble causeway. But from a modest cottage perched high on the cliffs, a retired oceanographer watched a private live stream, her weathered hands clutching a seashell pendant as her eyes filled with a complex, burning pride. Down below, a figure stepped off a modest auxiliary boat, her linen dress fluttering like sea foam in the breeze. Her soft leather flats whispered against the varnished teak. Her chestnut hair was tied simply with a strand of dried sea hemp. Her name was Maren Harrow. At 29, her beauty was unvarnished hazel eyes as clear as tide pools, skin bronze from years spent charting forgotten currents in Iceland's freezing fjords. A former marine biologist, she had once led an ambitious UN project to restore dying reefs, having turned her back on her father's empire at the age of 22. Raised by her botanist mother in a windswept Cornish village, Maren learned early that life's true riches lay not in gold, but in the living pulse of the oceans. Her heart beat to the rhythm of tides, not the clang of coins. Vincent Harrow had invited her here under the guise of a small family gathering. He had concealed the grandeur of the event, and Maren, ever faithful to her mother's simple teachings, arrived Alanino entourage, no labels, no armor of status. The crowd stares cut her down as she crossed the dock. Whispers flared, sharp as fishhooks. Camille Rochefort, the heiress to a European banking dynasty, leaned toward her entourage and laughed cruelly. "Looks like the janitorial staff wandered off course," she drawled, her sapphire tiara flashing in the sun. Tariq El Sayed, a Gulf shipping magnate, lounged in a teak chair, his $25,000 Rolex catching the light. "That dress looks like it's better suited for scrubbing decks," he sneered, his silk-clad friends chuckling behind manicured hands. Maren, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face, walked on, her expression serene. But the air crackled with derision. Up on the cliff, her mother's hands trembled as she watched. The insults mounted, vicious as a feeding frenzy. Did she get lost on the way to the beach bathrooms? Someone sneered, tossing a designer silk scarf at Maren's feet. "Maybe she's a dock worker's plus one." Another jeered, filming her discreetly with a jeweled smartphone. Private chats buzzed with cruel captions: "Yacht disaster, marina mistake." Images of Maren's simple flats flooded encrypted group chats filled with heirs and heiresses. A German logistics tycoon roared, "If girls like her are allowed on this yacht, this world really has capsized." Every laugh was a lash. Every whisper a blade. As Maren approached the main deck, the tide of cruelty rose. A cluster of banking heirs formed a loose blockade, their bespoke suits stiff with disdain. "She's staining the prestige of Harborstone," one hissed. "Back to the kelp fields, darling," sneered another, snapping a photo of her see-him tie. Phones flashed. Hashtags trended. Private messages savaged her appearance and her assumed insignificance. A steward in a gleaming white uniform sidled up, his smile razor-thin. "Miss, the technician's dock is that way," he said loudly, to the delight of nearby guests. Marin's face remained composed, but the live stream caught the slight tremor in her hands. Even the marina's staff joined in, emboldened by the laughter of billionaires. A chief purser gestured grandly. "Guests are expected to adhere to the dress code," he said pointedly, his eyes traveling disdainfully from Marin's simple sandals to the crowd's pearl-encrusted heels. Still, she moved forward, her dignity intact, her expression a sea wall against the crashing tide of contempt. Camille Rockefort, emboldened by the crowd, approached her near a crystal ice sculpture. She thrust her empty glass into Marin's hands. "Here, sweetheart," she said loudly. "At least be useful." The deck roared with laughter. Marin took the glass, filled it quietly from a nearby tray, and lifted it to her own lips. She sipped, slow and steady, her calm a blade sharper than any insult. But the jeering rose higher. "She's probably someone's nanny," scoffed a woman in a pearl-studded gown. "Or a charity case," sneered a French CEO's daughter, snapping another photo. Private chats exploded. Harborstone shame. Up on the cliff, Marin's mother clutched her pendant tighter, tears blurring her vision. Still, Marin walked, each step a testament to her unbreakable spirit. At the bow of the Astra Monarch, the ceremony's host-hand elderly man with silver hair and a Xenia suit stepped onto a low platform. His voice boomed over hidden speakers. "Please welcome the honoree chosen to christen the Astra Monarch DR, Marin Harrow." The laughter died. The crystal flutes froze midair. Gasps shot across the deck like gunfire. Camille Rockefort's tiara tilted. Tariq El-Sayed's Rolex gleamed forgotten on his wrist. Sabine Lawrence's couture gown sagged under the weight of shame. The crowd stood frozen as realization hit like a tidal wave. Marin stepped forward, the sunlight catching her linen dress like spun gold. Her hazel eyes swept the crowd not with anger, but with a silence more powerful than any rebuke. The private live stream erupted in frantic comments. "She's the owner's daughter. She's a marine biologist. She saved the Arctic reefs." She approached the bow with a champagne bottle wrapped in gold foil, lifted it high, and smashed it against the hull. "I christened the Astra Monarch," she declared, her voice clear as a bell. A hush fell over the deck. From the helicopter hovering behind the yacht, a figure emerged, Vincent Harrow himself. His navy suit was simple. His presence was not. He joined Marin at the bow, his arm resting lightly on her shoulder. His gaze swept the silent crowd. 40 years ago, I built Harborstone Holdings with a single trawler," he said, voice roughened by salt and storms. "I trusted my eldest son to carry it forward." A pause, heavy and damning. He betrayed that trust, sold our secrets, chased logos over loyalty. He turned to Marin, pride burning in his eyes. "I hid my daughter's identity today to see your true colors." His voice dropped, deadly quiet. "You failed." Gasps filled the air. "You mocked the only soul worthy of this legacy," Vincent continued, pulling a document from his Jaquita deed of full ownership. "As of today, every ship, every dock, every share of Harborstone Holdings belongs to DR. Marin Harrow." The crowd shattered into chaos. Phones tumbled. Champagne glasses cracked. The mighty fell silent. Contracts were torn. Deals dissolved. Alliances collapsed like sandcastles at high tide. Camille Rockefort was escorted from the yacht, her banking empire facing public audits. Tariq El-Sayed's logistics empire crumbled overnight. Sabine Lawrence's fashion house spiraled into boycott-driven oblivion. Those who mocked her were left pariahs in a world they once ruled. Marin, clad only in linen and pride, stood unshaken. The seas bowed to her. And the world, at last, saw the true meaning of power.